Today we're decorating our end portal entrance with an island and we're starting from zero. Welcome to a new video on the Create World, and for today's project we're going to travel back to Lumbermore so we can fly out to the end portal to get started on it, I guess. For now the entrance is a 3x3 hole and that goes all the way down to the portal room. And while that's likely going to stay very similar, we can make it look better above the water level. We're starting off with the shape of the island. We're going to go for a mid-sized island connecting the hole to this little bit of land that we have, and we want a shape that's pretty irregular and far from symmetrical. We also want to avoid too many straight lines, so every now and then we'll add a little bit of a bend in the edge of the island. And then we fill it all in. For now we'll use stone because I have loads of it, and later I can change it out for dirt where we need it. The platform for our little island is done. Of course it's very flat right now, but we'll change that real quick. A good way above our stone platform, we're going to create a second one. The same principle, but a lot smaller. It does have to be big enough to house a large circle. What the reason for that is, I'll show you at the end of the video. But for now, we'll finish this up and get started on the next step. Now that we have two planes, we'll build up a spider web. At a random interval, we'll build these lines that connect the top of the mountain to the stone platform. It's good to make sure that these patterns are steep, but still have a little bit of variation to the incline of the hill. When you've done a couple, you can see the mountain taking shape without having to build an entire face of it. This allows you to make quick edits here and there without having to take down hours of work. One thing that you can do to define the shape a little bit more is adding these horizontal connections. These add another level of dimension for you to see the overall shape of your mountain. Before we get started on filling in the shape that we have, I want to set up a road that snakes down to the ground. We're using the same method as we've used in the mountain to shape the rock faces that connect this pathway to the actual mountain. And now that we have a template, we can start filling it in. Before we get started on the actual decoration of this place, we need to make sure it's not floating. So for the dirt slope, we can keep it going a little further underneath the water and then dip down using a cliff face. And the mountainside will just continue all the way down towards the ocean floor. And that's the island. Now let's get started on the building that's going to go over the end portal entrance. I do want to get a house in on the island, so I'll probably plant that over the hole and see if I can make the entrance somewhat hidden. I also need to get a beetroot farm in for other purposes. This house will sit a little inside of the rock face, so we'll cut it back for a little bit and then we can clean it up later. We'll get some spruce in for the floor and surround that with stripped birch logs. We'll frame out the bottom and the top floor using some spruce logs. And now that the two buildings are done, we can get a central tower in here over the entrance hole. For the roof, we'll use a lot of dusk bricks, so the straight roofs will get a flared out A-frame, and for the tower, we'll get a little bit of a witch hat going on there. And that's most of it. The walls are still pretty bare, and we don't have any rooms laid out, but before I keep going on that one, I want to get the beetroot farm in place first. We'll put it down in the floor over here, so we'll have to drain out the area first. We'll start out with getting all the walls in place, then we'll fill in the cylinder with some dirt and dig it all the way back down. Then we get all the dirt floors in place for the farm, and just in case we need to get to these floors, we'll drain out a little room next to it for the staircase to go into. Then it's just a matter of planting what beetroot seeds I have, and we'll fill out the rest of the farm as we get on with the rest of the build. For the entrance to the end portal room, I have had this idea of doing something fun with an elevator, but we'll have to expand the walls of the hole itself a little more. Then we'll set up this big cauldron that's hanging from the ceiling, and in the ceiling we'll set up an elevator pulley that will lower the cauldron all the way back down to the portal room. Then if we add some campfires around the edge of the hole, it looks like we're making soup instead of lowering people to slay a dragon. The beetroot farm is now running at its full potential, so we can take the next step and build ourselves a greenhouse. Of course, we will need a vestibule so that we don't lose whatever is in here. Now it's just a matter of flying around in search of some critters. Now that we have 9 snails, we can start breeding them. Why would we need snails, I hear you ask? These little guys have a chance of dropping their shell. It's a very small chance, but a chance nonetheless, and we can use those shells to make shellstone, which is a beautiful block. And I need a lot of it. So I'll be farming these little guys whenever I can between the next few things that are on my to-do list. But for now, I'll get back to getting the interior finished and do some decorating. I wanted to add vegetation to the island, but I don't really want to do trees because they're so normal. And the next best thing in my mind is large mushrooms. I don't really have the blocks for it yet, but there is a dark oak forest very close by. To gather the mushrooms, we do need another axe. The one that I have doesn't have silk touch on it, and that's something that we need. So let's go to Beardstone to enchant a new diamond axe. And here we go. That's 1x with silk touch on it. And now I'll go and gather up some mushroom blocks and I'll see you back at the island. I want these to feel vanilla, but I don't want them to be too static and too straight either. I'll have to find a sweet spot in between vanilla and the use of model blocks as well. That's not it. Let's take it down and try again. This one's better, but I'm not convinced yet, so I'll let these simmer in my mind for now, and I'll get on with the next and last element of the island. I know that some of you might have been thinking, eggs, why did you plan out a circle at the top of the mountain? And well, let me explain. For over the past few weeks, I've been building this tower on stream. It's a big one, and we do need a lot of stuff for it, but I do think that it'll add another layer of interaction to the world. But let me get everything together and I'll try to explain the idea behind this huge building. I've been farming snails for hours now, and I hardly gathered anything. I need more than 2000 shellstone brick slabs, and I've reached out to the dev team of Naturalist, which is the mod that the snails are from, and I asked them if there was any way to change the drop rates of these little buggers. And they were a huge help, so now every snail drops 1 shell instead of a 10% chance of dropping one. So I'll gather up these last few blocks and then we're going to print out the build. And printing out a build looks kind of like this. And that's the tower. We do need to clean up some spots where the walls don't meet the ground. And I have to fix up some of these rails, but when I'm done, we'll walk through it together. So the idea of the tower is whenever I have people over on a world tour, like we did with Stam a couple of episodes back, they can challenge the tower and try to get as high as they can. Every floor has 2 options. On the one side we have a puzzle, which I'm not going to show you since I don't want to spoil them too much. And on the other side we have a game. On this first floor, for instance, this is chess. We also have Connect 4, Battleships, and Guess Who. For the Guess Who game, I do need some more skins or more people to guess, so if you have any creators in mind that I can reach out to for their skin. That sounds wrong, but that's what I need. Let me know in the comments below. The tower is pretty simple. You pick one of the rooms, you complete the room, or you don't complete it. If you don't complete it, you're out. That's the floor you ended on. If you complete the floor, either the puzzle or the game, you go to the next floor, and you keep going. And that's the tower. I think it'll be fun to see it in action when it's played, but I do need to fix some redstone that got messed up, so we won't have time to do that today. I'm going to end this episode here since I'm working on a new project, a new series, you could say, that's coming out soon. So I don't have a lot of time to work on this one. We'll get back to this tower and to this world in time. But for now, I'm going to focus on the other series, and I hope you enjoyed the episode enough to subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!